live on custom live streaming service.
And you're seeing anything?
No, just that little red live on custom live streaming service.
And you're seeing anything? Oh wait, what?
No,
I hear
just
myself.
that
Oh, sorry guys, I'm just
live
gonna have to react.
live streaming
Oh
service.
wait, we are on.
Custom live streaming service.
And you're seeing anything? Oh wait, what?
No,
I hear
just
myself.
Yeah, we are. We all are.
Sorry guys, I'm just
live
gonna have to react. Oh wait, we are on.
custom live streaming service.
And you're seeing anything? Someone needs to turn off their YouTube now. All right. Hey guys, welcome. Sorry for all this delay. We've been having technical issues, but we made it eventually. If you've been waiting, I know, sorry, Kat and all that were asking me, where are you? Anyway, welcome to Snippets of Synth. And today we're gonna be going to the topic of, can I be single, content, and desiring more? I'm gonna be looking forward to your, to the discussion. To the discussion, like what you guys think about this topic. Do you think that you can be content, single, and desiring more at the same time, or it's not possible? Please send your messages, your comments in the comment section, and then I'll look at them and we can have a discussion. But anyway, my name is Cynthia, Snippets of Synth, and these guys are going to introduce themselves, what they do, and then we'll dig into it.
Okay, I guess you didn't say who should start, so
yeah, one of you.
You can start.
Okay, so my name is Ropa or Jennifer, whichever one is more easier for you to pronounce. And professionally, I am a scientist, a healthcare scientist, and my other passion is my podcast called The Agenda Pod, which is available on self-plug. And I'm 20 something.
All right, nice to meet you. Jennifer Ropa with 20 something, owner of Agenda Pod. If you guys haven't listened, you need to go and listen. Agenda Pod, Spotify, and all that jazz. Okay, nice to meet you. And we've got
Grace. I always forget what to say. So although I haven't blogged for a while, I do have a blog called the holygrain.blog, and there's lots of relationship content on there, but in addition to that, there's also kind of general devotional material on other topics as well. And I too am 20 something, although on the blog I did have a blog about being 25, so hey, I'm 25.
Nice to meet you. 25. I'm also 25. Yeah, soon I won't be saying 25. Actually, I'll keep saying 25 for a few years. Yeah. All right. Nice to meet you guys. So actually, the first question that I'm going to ask, which is not on the questions that I sent you, it's a question I asked people on my Instagram, was if you're single or when you're single, how happy were you being single on a scale of 1 to 10? You can't hear Europa.
I was just sighing because I was really thinking, this is a very interesting question. I on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say prior to the pandemic, because I think my happiness scale has definitely changed with all the situation. But I really think, like, prior to the pandemic, I think I was about an 8.5, 9. Yeah, I'll say. And well, being that I was a single, I'm still a single woman. So I would say prior to the pandemic, I was at 8.5, almost 9.
Grace?
I would say I'm similar to Jennifer in that, yeah, with those ratings as well. But then I'm not single, so yeah. But I was happy being single before I stopped being single. But yeah.
Okay. Wait 1 second. It's on speaker view. Okay. All right. Interesting. For me, I would say like I think it kind of changes. It's sometimes I'm a 10. I'm like, man, you know what? This journey it's amazing. And then there's certain times where it's just like, actually, you know what? It's like a 5, and then sometimes it's 6, and then sometimes it's like a journey, a cycle whereby sometimes I'm like really there. I'm like, you know what? To be honest, I'm cool. Like I don't have to answer anyone, especially when I'm like so busy and you've got placements and all that. You're just thinking, man, life is just too much. I can't even bother to talk to anyone. But then there's certain periods where you're like, it'll be good to just have someone around. And I think it's something a lot of single people face out there, whereby we have some people they're like at a 10 always, at an 8 always, but some people are actually at a 4. And you know what? All that's fine because we are all different. Our journeys are different. And sometimes like it all comes down to, okay, what's going on around as well. Because there's certain periods in time whereby certain single people feel like, you know what, I really, really want to have someone. And then there's certain periods where it's just like they don't really feel it. And then during lockdown, I remember most of my single friends, they were just like, oh man, this is so annoying. Now I can't even meet people. I can't even, like, at least before lockdown, we're able to go to events. And then you wouldn't really feel like you're single because you're going to meet people without the whole pressure of meeting people. But now lockdown came and it's like 1 month. 2 months, 3 months, and you're like, okay, nah, it's enough. We can't even go to church, so I need to like stick to home, like that kind of thing, and not talk to anyone. And then I know a lot of people were struggling, especially people who were like single that I know of. But and then they came this whole concept of, okay, I'm struggling, but what do I do with it? Because I can't really talk about it. If I open up my mouth, some people are going to be like, why are you opening up? Are you okay? The kind of thing. And I remember this discussion whereby, so the NEC started this singles event for single people. And it so happened like one of the days, yeah, should I talk about this on live stream? Yeah, I'm doing it. One day, you guys, you can unmute. One of the days, like one of my friends was like organizing this event, and they were like, "Oh, actually, Cynthia, can you make it for this event?" And I'm like, to be honest, I wanna check out this singles event. Like, I keep hearing about it. I want to see what's there, what. And the way I was the way they answered, I was just like, oh, wait, what? Because they're like, oh, nah, you can't go there. If you go there, you're literally like, you're showing desperation and not allowing God to lead. And it's like you're kind of putting yourself on the side, like a side dish. And I'm like, wait, what? What does that even mean? And to be honest, it's not like it's the first time I've had that, but I'm one of those people who laugh things off and just be like, you know what, you stick to your point. I'm just gonna do what I want to do, that kind of thing. But I know a lot of people who would have had this and it'll be like, wait, so does it mean that I'm not loving God enough or what, something like that? And it just made me like really think. And lately I've been seeing a lot of posts on this topic and trying to be quiet. But then I was just like, you know what, maybe this is a discussion that needs to be done. um yeah, that needs to be done because a lot of people out there, they're struggling between the whole concept of, actually, I would like to have someone, but then when they express them, they are met with um, certain individuals who might be coming out in a good way, who will be saying, nah, actually, you should be content. Don't serve yourself as a side dish on the menu. Focus on God. But can you focus on God, and can you not focus on God and still desire? That is the bigger question. But before you even get to that, before you even get to the first what has been your experiences over this whole singleness? this whole topic. You can unmute, or I'm just gonna unmute both of you.
Okay. First of all, that story is wild. Like, I know you've told me this before, but every single time I hear, I'm just like, what is going on? I think for me, I've encountered a lot more people that are sort of like not necessarily like kind of shunning me from trying to be in a relationship. I think I've met more people that are like, oh, you should be meeting someone, you know, we want you to be married. I think you would make a great partner. Like, I would do something. I remember I think 2 years ago, I was in Zimbabwe, and I was at my aunt's house, and we had visitors come over. And because I'm such a people person and I really enjoy playing a host, I kind of like made them food and all of that, playing with their kids and all of this. And after they left, my aunt was like, oh my gosh, like, I think your house is just going to be such a warm house. I can't wait for you to be married. I think you need to find a partner. And so my experience, I think, maybe because I'm surrounded by my family, who some of them have been married for like 30 plus years and stuff, to them, they can't understand like why I'm single. They're like, you should be with someone. So I've not really had anyone say, oh, you should be a side dish, or what, if you were going to make yourself a side dish. Because I really and truly, I also feel like if someone had said that to me, I don't know what kind of conversation we would have ended up in, because I really don't. I think there's this disconnect where somehow the church, or sometimes people they don't like single people saying they want to be married, but they also don't like single people saying, I don't want to be married. It's like there's a magic. They expect it to be magic. So one day I'm single, the next day I'm someone's wife. But there's a process that is in between those two phases. And when we stigmatize the process of that, we then have people that end up in either wrong marriages or in a state of singleness that they're actually not supposed to be in. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, I think it's the thing you said about how they just expect us to suddenly end up married. I was just kind of thinking when I was preparing the notes, I was just kind of like how initially you have people that are like, I'll focus on your studies, and then, you know, like make sure you get your grades, everything, and then you kind of finish uni, like, you know, so where's your man? And it's just kind of like, you know, when are you getting married kind of thing. I'm like, oh, I thought I was supposed to be, you know, I did what you said, like, you know, like you just put the switch is just so kind of like it's really different. And so prior to this relationship, I was single for 3 years, and I just remember my mom always asking, you know, so, you know, what's the latest news? Do you have any news to tell me? I'm like, no, still no, and no again. You know, like there's no update. And so prior to this relationship, I remember like telling her about this guy, and it didn't work out. But then she was just like, wait, how can you say no? But he just seems so nice, you know, you can't just be turning people down. I'm just like, but it, you know, we don't, like, it's not really meant to be. And she's just like, but you need to get married. I'm like, well, hopefully there'll be somebody else. So, but it's just kind of like, you know, I don't necessarily consider myself old, but I still, you know, thought that, you know, there's still time. Although it's happened now, I would have thought, you know, like even if it happened a bit later, you know, it's cool to just kind of see when it happens. But it was just funny to kind of like see her reaction. So I was like, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. But she definitely thought that, like, you know, you need to be hurrying up and getting in a relationship. So yeah.
I think I can relate, because I think for years I was really not really into it, and then there came a period where everyone was asking, and then because everyone is asking, you start thinking, oh, is there something wrong? Should I be in a relationship? But then like certain experiences literally occurred, and then I realized, nah, it's not like being in a relationship. It's not the be it or be and all. Life doesn't start once you're in a relationship. Life doesn't start once you're married. You gotta enjoy life before you're even there. Enjoy life as an individual, that kind of thing. And there's more to life. And some of the marriages whereby people run into marriages, some of the marriages are hell on earth. And then, so it's better to wait longer than to rush into something and be in hell on earth. But it's better to wait longer and actually enjoy your life and then marry later and be in heaven on earth than to rush it and be in hell on earth. Because most of the times, your years when you're married are longer than the years you are single for most people. But anyway, that's not the topic. Okay, let's go to the story. First question, do you guys think, can someone be single, content, and desiring more?
I feel like I'm always making Jennifer go first, although you never go first for any of them, actually. So we could let you go first. But yeah, I'd taken all of the sections as separate things, and I can run through what I'd put for them.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's kind of volunteering myself to go first, unless you wanted a yes or no answer. But so for singleness, I kind of looked at it in from two aspects.
Actually, no, I want a yes or no answer.
Oh,
now.
you do?
Yeah.
Okay, then yes.
You
yes.
can. Okay.
That's my answer.
Jenny, what do you think? Can someone be single, content, and desiring more?
Yeah, I think it's 100% yes.
Okay, all right. So what is contentment?
I think you should go first, Cynthia.
Wow. All right. So I did a little research on what contentment or content is. And the definition that I found a few definitions. The first one was a state of satisfaction. So yeah, like, you know what, I'm so satisfied right now. The second one was, yeah, I think they're all like repeating themselves, to be honest. I saw it somewhere. I forgot to write it down. The other one was whereby you feel like, you know what, I don't need anything. I'm actually cool, like where I am. I don't want to progress or anything like that. I just want things to stay the same way they are. So yeah, that's the definition I got. Before I elaborate on it, did you guys find something different or that was the same?
It was similar for me. I saw a couple, but the one that I kind of resonated with and noted down was the Cambridge Dictionary one that says, pleased with your situation and not hoping for change or improvement. And in one of the examples for the youth, they'd given, I was just content to see my daughter in such a stable relationship, but a grandchild, that really was the icing on the cake. And I think that's kind of what leads me to say that you can be content and also desire more, because obviously in this example, the parent is happy that they found somebody, but if they get a grandchild, great. But the fact that they have, you know, a child in a stable relationship, they're happy with that. And I think equally, you can be at a point where you are single and you're happy being single, you've got everything that you need, but you do desire a relationship at some point in the line. And so I think people that separate the two, they're kind of forgetting the fact that you can still want more while still being happy. Like the two don't have to be like, you know, it's either or kind of thing. And so I guess that's why I picked that one out.
Interesting. All right, Rapa.
I think my favorite one was it's a state of happiness or satisfaction in your situation. And I thought that was really good because I think we think of singleness and relationship as if they're like a line, right? So, but to me is right now, if I am happy and satisfied in my singleness, this is the state that I'm happy in. Doesn't mean that but being in a relationship is a different state. So what I'm desiring is not to carry singleness into being in a relationship. What I'm desiring is to go into a new phase. And hopefully in that phase of being in a relationship, I am happy, content, and satisfied, but I'm in a relationship. If that makes sense. I think I try to look at them as three spheres, so I can transition from one sphere to the next sphere, not like be in a kind of in the same straight line, because that's how you end up having single married men when you think of singleness as a straight line.
Very, very. All right, interesting. Wow. you've not changed the way I was looking at it now with the way you guys came, like how you guys looked at it. Because from what I had seen when I looked at singleness as a state whereby you're satisfied and you're not longing for more, I was thinking, so no, you can't be single, content, and desiring more, because content and desiring more are like opposite things. If you're content, you're saying, nah, I'm cool. I'm at a place whereby I don't want anything more. And then desiring more, you're like at a place where you're like, okay, actually, I would like more, that kind of thing. So I was looking at it like it's contradicting each other. Whereby, and yet I hear a lot of people saying, nah, you should be content, or preachers preaching, you should be content, and all that, single people be content. But now I'm like, So now it's like kind of contradicting what I had in mind. And I don't know where to go from there, but all right.
I mean, just on that, because like I said, I'd kind of broken the sections into three and looked at single, then content, and then desiring more. For the desiring more section, I just put desiring more from a place of contentment means that you're at peace whether marriage does or doesn't happen. But because you do, you're then active in the process of ensuring that does happen, and we can kind of discuss what that looks like later on. But desiring more from a place of discontentment means you're looking for a relationship to fill certain voids, and you're likely to jump into any relationship just because you want to be in one. So I think that's where the difference lies. So if you're content and you're like, okay, if I'm single, I'm single, and I'm okay with that. But if I have more, I would absolutely be happy with that. Versus somebody that's just like, nah, I hate being single. I really just want more just because I want more. There's a difference between those two people. So I think that's something else to take into consideration.
I like that. I like that.
And
all right.
I also, sorry, I was going to say, I also think there is, I don't know, maybe it's just a me thing where I have, in different phases of my life, have set myself targets and things that I want to accomplish in this phase. So if I had set a target that I want to play piano and travel to Mars in 2020, and I've done that, I'm happy, I'm content, because I have achieved the targets that I'd set for myself. And now if I then decide to add, or now I want to learn how to bake, it doesn't mean that I'm not content, or I'm not happy, or I'm not satisfied with my accomplishments or with my situation. It's now that I've added a new thing that says, you know what, I've gone to Mars and I've come back and it was a wonderful experience. It will be nice for me to share this wonderful experience with this cake that I'm baking. So that's why.
Yeah, no, I like that. And not to labor the contentment point, but the analogy that I gave up when I was doing the notes was just one of like work salary. Like, if you get to a certain stage and you're happy and you're just like, okay, I'm earning X amount, and you're like, oh, I'm so content, I'm happy. But your boss says, well, if you do X, Y, and Z, I could pay you more. You're not going to be like, no, I'm content. You don't need to pay me anymore. I don't want any more. Like, you're obviously gonna, I feel like that's why it almost adjusts depending on, the different stages and different things. So I just don't like the static thing of thinking, okay, because I'm single and I'm content, I can't, there's nothing outside of that. That's I wouldn't look at it that way.
Amen. Oh, amen. All right, so someone asked me on Insta when I asked for questions, and they were like, I think this actually goes with the questions. Is it okay to have a desire to be in a relationship without people thinking you are desperate or that your relationship with God isn't strong enough? I forgot to send you guys this question, but
do you say is it okay? And then you added people
to have a desire to be in a relationship without people thinking you're desperate or that your relationship with God isn't strong enough.
See, I get what they mean, but I'm like, of course it's okay. What people think doesn't matter. Like if you want to have a relationship, then you have that desire. What other people think of it shouldn't really matter. But I get why they're asking that from that point. And I just think it's a shame that they would feel like that's such a bad thing to express. Like we've made it such that they feel like it's such a bad thing to express, because I don't think it is. Providing that you are seeking a relationship for the right reasons and you are ready to be in one. And I think that's one of the questions for later on. So that's my bit for now, but I'm sure I'll add more later on. You were going to say something, Jennifer, right? I thought you had your hand up.
My thing is, when did we start putting singleness with the perfect relationship with God, and being in a relationship or wanting a relationship meaning that you're not going to have a relationship with God. I don't think that
how to
those
equate,
two
yeah.
are mutually exclusive events. I can be single and have a terrible relationship with God. And I could be in a relationship and have an amazing relationship with God. Me desiring someone, because and I think it's very contradictory to the actual definition and the character of God, because God did not make us isolated human beings. He made us human beings that seek companionship, that that are willing to help each other. And I would assume that people want to be in a relationship so that you can help each other grow and be better. So the God that you're saying you want to be in a relationship with, or your relationship with God, he says to you, you are a person that needs companionship, that's not an island. But then now you're saying, oh, you wanting to be in a relationship is contradictory. That has never set well with me, and I think it's wrong for people to put that on you. I think we should let people express, because the Bible says whatever you desire of the Lord, you should ask. So if I'm not asking, then he's never going to give it to me.
Yeah, I was just thinking, how people say, oh, you should wait on the Lord and stuff. And so if that person is expressing that desire, it's almost indicative of the fact that they're not waiting on the Lord. So your relationship can't be good. And that's kind of, I guess, maybe where they were going with their question. But I just hate the fact that it just seems like you were saying, you should be able to ask God. So why is it that when you're expressing what you want, you're kind of being told that, oh, but you're not, you're taking matters into your own hands, which is kind of the conversation I think I was having with Cynthia beforehand. So
and I think that whole wait on the Lord thing, we only use it for relationships. There's no way that I can come. Let me tell you, because I know that okay, tell me, if you ever gone to church and a student who's in sixth form has said, I want to get into this university, and people have said to them, don't pray about it, just wait on the Lord. No one says that. Everyone is like, we're going to pray for you. We're going to pray for our young people so that they get into the right universities. If they come out of university and they want a job, no one says to them, just wait on the Lord. They say, pray for the job that you want, apply for those jobs, get those interviews. Then the moment they say, oh, I really would want a boyfriend. No, wait on the Lord. What is that?
I agree. Like there's this verse which I love, James chapter 4 verse 22. I hope I'm quoting the right verse. It says, oh wait, am I quoting the right verse? Now I think it's either, because I have James chapter 4 verse 22. Let me check my Bible. Like I have two verses that are like I love, and they're both found in James, but I can't remember which one is which one. But okay, it says, you have not because you ask not. Is that the one?
Yeah, the one about asking amiss.
You have not because you ask not, or you're asking amiss, like with the wrong motives, that kind of thing. Like I remember looking at that the first time I read that verse. What was I looking for? What was I asking for? Yeah, I think it was about relationships, actually. I was literally like seeking God for help and advice in a relationship I was about to walk into, that kind of thing. And I was like praying, and then God led me to that verse. I was like, oh, I've never met that verse. And this verse, kind of, when you dig into it, it's saying, you know what, sometimes in life, we actually we don't have certain things in life because we're not asking. Or sometimes because we're just asking with the wrong motives, that kind of thing. So now when it comes back to relationship, it's like you have to kind of think of it like, okay, well, God is saying you can ask for anything because he's a father who loves giving gifts. So there's nothing wrong with actually expressing that desire that, Lord, I'd like to have someone. But just because you have a desire, sometimes God won't give it to you. And like, because maybe right now your motives are kind of wrong. So you delay the gift, that kind of thing. But I'm not saying everyone who doesn't have a relationship is because your motives are wrong. Because there's certain people out there, we have the right motives and all that, but it's just not happening, that kind of thing. And that's life. We live in a sinful world and all that. God created us, like what Roper said, what Jennifer said, God created us as relational beings. And that's okay. It's okay to have that desire. Adam was in the garden. He was walking with God, guys. Adam was walking with God. He wasn't like, oh, there's a God out there, like how we do. but he actually was able to see God and walk with him daily, even though he was working with God, even though he had a purpose and all that. When he was doing his purpose, he realized, you know what, something is different. I would like to have someone, that kind of thing. And God realized that, but God kept him working and all that. And then later on, God gave him someone. So if Adam was, if there was no need for companion at all, then Adam really probably didn't need an Eve. But that's a different discussion for another day. But the point is, there's nothing wrong with feeling these feelings or having these desires or having these feelings. It's normal, it's natural, but it all comes out to us as individuals, whether you're in a relationship, you're not, or you want to help or whatever, like how we relate to individuals we express this desire. Are we shunning them away from ever expressing it, and then they'll end up expressing it outside of church or expressing it in places where they're not going to get the best advice? Or are we actually having like an open ear, listening to what they're saying? And then, because when we have an open ear and listen to what they're saying, when they start telling us like, oh, I'm looking for a relationship because of this, if their motives were wrong, at least we can counsel them and help them to kind of be like, oh, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? You know, that kind of thing. But if the conversation is already shut down and you're being told, don't think about relationships until you are, let's say, 40, and then when you're 40, why are you still single? Then, to be honest, we're not going to help each other, but we should be able to express this literally. Yeah, okay. Is there then a stigma around, I think we kind of touched on it, is there stigma around singles desiring marriage? Do you have any examples you know of? Yeah.
I think there's definitely a stigma. And I think that's what I said before, where like people think that like I'll flip a switch like this and then I'm married. So it's like you should be single and it's your season, you know, it's all right. You don't need to want that. But at the same time, you're also saying, but when are you getting married? You can't stigmatize my desire for marriage and then ask me when I'm getting married, because you're contradicting yourself in the same sentence. And I think there's been times where people have kind of, I don't like that phrase, and I know people use it a lot. I don't like that. This is your season. I don't like it. I really don't like it. I don't like it. I really don't, because I think people say this is your season because they don't want to listen to the reasons why you are saying you want to be in a relationship. So what they want to do is shut you down and tell you to stop whining, just be in your season. And I don't like it. I don't like, because I think it's a very dismissive term that we use for you know, men and women that are genuinely trying to and the thing is, you're telling someone it's your season, but do you know maybe what because the Bible tells us that if you're single, but you're struggling, maybe you're struggling with like sexual desires or whatever, it encourages you to be married. But then you tell me that it's my season, and then what is that person doing? You're not providing any support to them. You're not hearing the reasons why they're single. So I think there is definitely a stigmatization of singleness and a stigmatization of wanting to be single, and then this pressure of marriage. And I think that's very schizophrenic behavior that we have as a Christian community.
You touched, I think Ray said a point, but I just want to touch something quickly. You touched on the whole aspect of dismissing, and maybe someone might be battling in the background, maybe sexual desires and all that. Like, I think, this is why it's also important to listen, because when someone tells you, oh, I'm actually desiring, and then you're like, oh, okay, interesting. And then you start having a conversation. Later on, you can ask, oh, but why exactly? Is it because of the company and all that? And I'm like, actually, because I'm struggling. And then once you hear that they're struggling, at least from there, you can actually be like, oh, have you tried this? Or you can start praying together or helping them to find other ways whilst they're waiting to actually remain pure, that kind of thing. But when we dismiss, then we're not going to be able to actually meet the root cause of why exactly, because there's nothing wrong with having these desires, but it's about what do you do with the desires? Are you having them and then leaving them to God? Are you having them and then asking God to kind of help you to still remain pure mentally, socially, and all that, and to be like living the best, being fulfilled, doing the best you can, being fulfilled, like fulfilling your what's it called? Your core whilst you're actually single as well, or is it just like? But I think when we dismiss, people just end up not knowing what to do, and then that's when the desire ends up being used in a negative way, or they end up trying to find help outside or in places where it's going to damage them more, kind of thing. So yeah, it's good to talk. It's good to listen than to dismiss. Grace, I think.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Before Grace say something, I was going to say, I think it's also interesting that I'll draw this parallels because I'd like for people to see how they are hypocrites. There is no, people have like ministries, right? If I say I want to do homeless ministry, right? There's no one that is ever going to tell me it's your season not to have a ministry right now, right? But at the same time, we preach of marriage, or we talk of marriage as being a ministry where two people that are being called to be ministers to each other and to also serve as ministers to the community that they're going to create, as in their family, their children that they're going to have, and the church community. The two of them are supposed to come together and help, kind of edify that ministry. That is the one time that I'm told you should not desire to be in that space where I can have someone that I can work with to help me propel further and further whatever calling that God has given me. But on my own, you can have as many ministries as you can. Why can it not be my season of waiting for God to give me the next ministry? But it's okay for me to be in a season of waiting for God to find, for me to have a husband. I don't know.
That's interesting. But I think the difference with yours is that you were talking about how other people are telling you that it's your season. Whereas I think when I was single and I was like, I'm embracing this season, like it's something that I was giving myself rather than somebody telling me that it's my season. So that's why when you mentioned it, I was like, oh, but I think a single season is good. Like it's your time to actually think about and prepare yourself for that next stage and make sure that you're going into it like ready. But I can see how it can kind of almost be condescending, if other people are kind of telling you, oh, you need to do this, especially because the things I noted down, like, focus on yourself, focus on your relationship with God, it'll happen in God's time. But say this person has been doing those things for 10 years, I have been focusing on God, I have been working on myself, what more do I need to do? So if somebody's telling you that it's your single season, it's not time for you yet, then I can kind of see, as you were talking about, how they don't prevent you so much if you've got ministry plans and other things to pursue that. But if it's marriage, there's suddenly barriers towards that. So yeah, in terms of there being a stigma, I see your point, but I thought in terms of desiring marriage, like like how the aunties and the uncles and everybody wants you to get married, I almost feel like if I said I wanted to get married, they'd be like, oh, that's great. So I didn't see it from that perspective, but I do get what you mean. I thought it was just more the stigmas around you being seen to take matters into your own hands and not waiting on God, which is where I kind of saw it a bit more. Because like Cynthia was saying, in terms of like attending the singles events and things like that, it's like, oh, why are you doing that? Like you should just be waiting. So that's where I saw it, but I definitely see your perspective as well.
Actually, yeah, we're gonna come back to this. I just want to read the comments on YouTube. I was about to say Instagram. On YouTube, there was one comment like, oh, that was a long time ago. I should have read this before. Sorry, Dylan. They're talking about, and you get that double standard of people encouraging relationships, but then they quickly say, don't be pressured, while pressuring you at the same time. Hello. And then that aspiration for more, that desire for the next level is not bad. It's in our very nature, but being aware that it may not come the way you expect it is another factor. What do you mean by that, Dylan? And then there was a question as well. Do you think people tell you to be content because you desire a relationship badly? I think so.
What does that mean? You desire a relationship badly?
Badly.
I think it's like, let's say maybe someone is like outspoken about how they would like to be in a relationship. So then people hear it and then they start telling them, no, you need to be content. You need to be content. You need to stop wanting to be in a relationship badly. I guess that's what you mean. If that's not what you mean, please can you just explain a bit further the benchmark? Yeah. Oh, I don't know if you guys have anything to add on that, or we can move to the next question.
I just want clarity on that question about because you desire a relationship badly, but I don't know. Just clarify for me before, and we can answer it.
All right, I'm sure you'll clarify in a bit until it clarifies. All right, let's go to the next question because I'm looking at time now. All right, so we've looked at the stigma and we said, yeah, there is a stigma around there. So how can we change the stigma? How can we validate these feelings or these desires properly and effectively with people who might be struggling with these desires, like of being in a relationship? How can we, as a community, change this stigma and actually unstigmatize it and make a positive change in the community or in our environments?
Okay, the first thing that I tried to look at was how do I practically help someone that's in that situation. And I think the first thing that I would like to do is listen to them and listen to why are they seeking to be in a relationship at this point in their life. How do they see this? Because I think the one thing that has helped me, even in my just like dating life, is not only taking stock of the men that are coming to me and that I'm looking to date, but taking stock of myself. So in listening to the person, then you can sort of help them be like, okay, so what are your goals? How have you achieved those goals that you had for yourself? What's your relationship with yourself like? Because I think that is something that I think we take for granted, how we can have a relationship with ourselves. Because when we have a relationship with ourselves, then we know what we're bringing to others or what we're intending to help the next person with. So I said, listen to them and then offer them practical steps. I don't like it when people say, oh, just sit there. No one's husband is going to break into their mother's house and catch them in their bedroom and be like, you're now my wife. And stalker. If you meet your husband that way, he is stalking you, you need to call the police. That man needs to go to jail. That is stalkerish behavior. So you need to then be in spaces where you can meet the like-minded people that you're desiring to meet. You can't, if you wanted someone who is in a farming ministry, maybe it's time for you to get involved in ministries that involve farming, because that's how you're going to meet them. If you wanted someone that is in health, and maybe you don't work in a health ministry, maybe you know friends. I think the practical things like use your friends to connect you. I've told all my friends, like, listen, if you know someone that is good, that is like this, I've given them the 5 things that I think are important to me, introduce me. Then from then on, I can take it from there, because then I know that at least they've passed a layer of verification and vetting that I can take from there. I'm never an advocate for sitting there like this in your house in your apartment and just pray. Because I did not get my job that I prayed to God for by just sitting there and not going and applying for the job and not sending in the applications, filling the applications form. That's why I did updated your LinkedIn. And maybe it's time for you to update your relationship LinkedIn. Maybe it's time for you to send that application form. Maybe it's time for you to go to those networking events. Just as I would practically go after the things that I'm praying for in my job, in my academic career, in my ministry. Because even when I want to start a ministry, I need to find people that are already involved in that can help me build it up. Why am I not doing the same thing in this? That's what I would say.
I love it. Yeah, I don't actually know that I've got anything else to add. Yeah, so because which you combined breaking the stigma, right? And the validating the feelings. So I'd put, by not suggesting that they keep sitting around and normalizing putting yourself in the right places, which is pretty much what Jennifer was saying. And I love the thing about getting your friends to kind of recommend people as well, which is just so important. And having channels to increase the chance of them meeting people and not having a stigma attached to that, such as single events and online dating. And, you know, I guess if there was a relationship LinkedIn, funnily enough, I'd put on my story this week about like having a dating CV and that kind of thing, which, you know, I guess I was kind of being serious but not being serious. But I mean, when you say it like that, it's just important for us to just whatever avenues are available, like to not, like you're saying, just sit around and hope that it happens to you, because that, I don't like the passive nature of that, which kind of feeds into the other question about guys coming and, you know, pursuing and stuff. But in terms of breaking the stigma, and so changing the conversation around singleness or broadening it to include those who are waiting and desiring more. So yes, there might be people who they do need to work on whatever they need to work on, but there are also people who have done that. And then, you know, you need to be giving them advice in terms of what more they can do, like kind of the advice that you've just given, rather than just like, okay, yeah, you just sit and wait and, you know, he'll show up out of nowhere kind of thing. So that's all I'd add to that.
I like that. Those are amazing practical ways, not gonna lie. And I like the how you keep talking about this CV, because amazing. Like, this is the thing that I always hear, whereby, like, we already talked about it, well, like the whole waiting period. Like, it's good to wait on the Lord and everything, but don't just wait, also pray. And it's the same with how, was it Trump? Yeah, you talked on how, let's say if someone is doing their A levels, you wouldn't just tell them, oh, wait on the Lord and get your A's. They have to work for it. And that's the same with, if you want a job, you don't just send your CV. You actually have to sit down, write your CV, and make sure that you meet the criteria of the job you're looking for. You don't just go like, oh, I want to become a manager, but then all you've done is all like GCSEs, and you haven't done A levels, you haven't done anything else to add on that. You've just been doing like, what's it called, minimal jobs, and you're not really working on your CV. Then you're asking for a managerial job in an accounting firm will be asking for too much. Like, that's the same with literally this whole thing, whereby if you desire, like what Roper said, if you're desiring someone who's into farming, then you also need to know how to farm. You can't be like, you can't, like Adam and Eve. When Eve came, Eve was able to actually help Adam. She knew how to do stuff and all that. They helped each other out. And when we look at most of the couples in the Bible, my favorite couple is Priscilla and Aquila. I don't know if you guys know about them. If you don't, you need to Google them. Like, that couple was a tag team. Like, literally, they would work together so well by making sure Paul came and then he lived with them. And then they would work together and help other people in the community to know about God, that kind of thing. They were a tag team. But I'm sure Priscilla had certain qualities that actually made their ministry, their relationship to work together. So that's the same with, if you want to be in a relationship, yes, you're going to be single and happy within yourself. Because if you're not happy within yourself, if you're not like satisfied within yourself, then even if someone else comes along, that relationship won't be as healthy and as strong as it can be, as if you had worked on yourself and literally developed your own CV and become the person that you're seeking, or the person who complement what you're kind of seeking, that kind of thing. So it's something to just think about as you're desiring this whole thing of marriage, of relationship. Like, am I the kind of person I'm sort of looking for? Or am I actually using, okay, some people don't like the word season, some people like the word season, but for now we'll use the word season. Am I using this season that I'm in to become the best version I can be, so that when right now it's sunny and all, it's sunny and all that, am I planting the seeds? No, I don't know. When do you plant seeds? I can't remember. I'm not really a farmer. I'm not my dad. If it's farming time, like, you're planting the seeds and making sure that they're actually growing. And then when it's harvest time, you'll be able to harvest. But if you're waiting for harvest so that you can start planting in harvest, then you're waiting for, like, you're literally wasting your time, literally. So if it's farming time right now, do what you have to do, so that when harvest time comes, when someone actually comes, that relationship will be amazing, will be positive, will be healthy, and you'll be able to actually grow, then bring more baggage to the relationship and start a relationship with baggage, kind of thing. All right. Second point. Second question. No. One of the next question. So, what can single, because I know Grace literally touched on it a little bit, but not fully. So what can single ladies desiring marriage do if men are the ones who ought to pursue? Should they just wait to be picked, like they're in a supermarket kind of thing, and you're one of the fruits and you're just waiting, like, pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me? Or are there any practical tips? Is there any biblical approach we can use? Like, what can they do? Like, what can single ladies do? Let me see if there are any comments in the, yeah, nothing yet. Yeah.
So just to start off on some of the challenges that I think women face, one of them being that, yes, men are meant to pursue. So to a certain extent, you're kind of waiting for him to make the first move. And also the fact that there are more women in the church, and that at least the men that I'd come across, they all seem to want to marry later. So it seems that, like, the women are ready before the men are. And so there's that as well. And then the UK Adventist circle is small. So if you're not going to be doing the whole unequally yoked thing, then even in terms of the people that you know, it's going to be pretty difficult. And so for me personally, I would say that, things like singles events are important. And just ensuring that you broaden the circle of guys that you know. And so speaking to what Rob was saying earlier about, being introduced to people, and just putting yourself in the places where you intend to be. And I think for me, one thing, although I've ended up in a relationship now, one thing that I thought it'd happen a bit later, like when I'm hoping to go back into mission, and I thought, okay, well, if I don't meet anybody between now and me going, that's fine, because I most likely will meet somebody when I'm doing that, because that's the area in which I intend to spend, like, most of my life. And so it's this thing of just, like, putting yourself in those places, and then just being, like, mindful of what you are looking for and where you will find those qualities. But a big thing is ensuring that you do have a good circle of guy friends, I'd say, and that you are just building those friendships, not with the intention of, like, oh, he seems like he'd make a good husband, so let me make friends with him so that, one day he'll ask me, that kind of thing. But just in general, just have guy friends, because some girls are shy, some girls are just, they just don't want to just even to speak to speak to people. So I think it's just very important to just have, like, lots of people. Just the more people that you never know, like, how that relationship's going to come about. So definitely say that. But I'd also, as I was thinking about the picking thing, because I know that's something that we were discussing, Cynthia, but just how damaging that can be to a certain extent in terms of how you can feel like, oh, well, why am I not being picked? And then it's like you're seeing other people being picked, and like, you know, mentally that can be really challenging because you're thinking, oh, well, what's wrong with me, when you're comparing yourself to other people that like that you feel like they're being picked. But I think it's really important when you are considering that to kind of measure that against God's perspective as opposed to what you're seeing about other people. So it's just like, oh, well, if I had this and this like she does, then, you know, maybe I'd get picked. But it's more like, well, are you where you should be in terms of what God wants for you as a person, in terms of your character? Not so much, you know, she's getting picked because of this. If I get that, then maybe someone will pick me. So I think mentally that can be a bit of a challenge if you know, that is a desire that you have and you feel like it's not happening soon enough. But from a practical perspective, I just say it's really important just to have more guy friends, because the conversation I was having with one of my guy friends was just that you don't know who you don't know. So like, you just know the guys in your circle, and unless you broaden it, then you're not really going to know anybody else. So that's a really important part of that.
But I like that. I like those points.
And the last thing I forgot to put as well, I said evangelistic dating cannot be a thing. So if all else fails, do not be out here trying to get some random guy just to be like, okay, I'm going to make him SDA, things are going to be great. Like, we can't do that. But yeah.
It's interesting because like I've had ladies, whereby this whole thing of being friends with guy friends, they struggle with. Because it's like, oh, I'm not looking for a friend, I'm looking for a partner. I've got too many guy friends.
Sorry, just reminded me that I've just put, and don't be quick to friend zone. I put that, I'm just literally missing my notes. But yeah, don't be quick to friend zone, because sometimes we're out here putting guys in the friend zone. That shouldn't be, but carry on. Sorry.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, let me keep quiet.
The way you said that, like, oh, no, that does not apply to me. I'm not taking that advice.
I think it's good advice. It's good advice.
Just not for you. Okay, I feel bad for you guys that, you know, they could be out here like, Cynthia's the one for me, but no, she doesn't see me in that way.
Let me keep quiet. So before I open too much on YouTube.
I like the points that she gave. And like, I really do agree, like widening your circle is really good, because then you get to meet new people that you've never met before, and then, you know, boom, you now have met the person that you want to be with. And I know this might be very controversial to people. I am an advocate of being very proactive with the things that you want in your life. I don't believe in laying back. Do not think that liking 5 pictures on his Instagram is going to let you know that, oh my gosh, this girl is into me. No, I don't think that works. I don't think it's ever worked. And if it has worked for someone, can they please contact me and tell me what it is? Because do you know how many pictures I like on Instagram on a day-to-day basis? Several. So how is that different? If I liked 10 pictures from your page, sometimes it's because you're putting really good content out there.
Randomly.
And of course I'm gonna like it.
Tell him then? Is that how would you like DM him?
I've never DM'd any. Well, no, I have DM'd someone. I actually have. I was gonna say I haven't, but then I have. And that was a better conversation, because then at least it led to us actually talking, and then me realizing, actually, you know what? Maybe this guy is just aesthetically pleasing, but he's not compatible with what I'm looking for. So if you continue to just like it, you're never going to know whether that is actually what you're looking for. So I don't believe in this. If someone knows someone who knows somebody that this has worked for, please tell them to tell me. I would invite them on my podcast, because they need to tell me something. Maybe they have a special like button that the rest of us don't have. So, and I think the important thing is, instead of marrying someone that you think you want in your mind, you actually have to marry someone that you like right now. If you put that person next to you, you know that you're going to be compatible. I think that's the most important thing. So when you look at these guys, more than just, I always say to people, laugh, my friends laugh at me when I say this. I always say, in as much as your boyfriend is cute, you look at his uncles and his granddad and see what they look like. Because you know what your children will look like? Not necessarily him, they will look like his family. Because genetics, if you listened in biology class, you know this thing. So I think sometimes you need to be practical about certain things. If you are really bad at money, you can't also marry a guy that is spending so much. You need to really have foresight and see yourself in that space of, is this really the kind of person that I want to go with? And the other thing, and I think we need to send this to all the Adventist girls out there, because our circle is very small. A friend of a friend of a friend of a friend is not my friend, and that girl code doesn't work. I can date their ex-boyfriend.
Bitch.
I don't understand who told us that someone you would only have met, you sometimes you haven't even met this girl, but you've just had their name in passing from 4 friends removed. And then now you're like, oh, I can't date him because he knows Grace, and Grace knows Thelma, and then Thelma knows
Cynthia.
Rumpi, and then Rumpi knows Cynthia, and then Cynthia knows Rover. Do you know how many people you've passed by? So many of them. And you're right, Grace. Let's not be quick to friend zone people. Let's not be
Yes,
quick.
Cynthia.
Or brothers on people. Everyone is your brother. Everyone. Yes, you know we're in the family of God, but not everyone is meant to be your brother. Some people are meant to be your husband.
Amen.
And then the other thing that I wrote, I wrote that being proactive doesn't mean asking out everyone, but sometimes it means just being in the space where you can make those connections, you can make those friendships, you can have that kind of relationship where I can check on you and you know what's going on. And then from there because sometimes it's easier to get to know someone without the pressure of, oh my God, it's our first date. Oh, I think she's really cute. And I think he's really cute. Sometimes without that pressure, you actually get to see each other for who you really are. And then you might be surprised. You'll be surprised. You'll be like, oh, yeah. And the other thing is, do not marry someone in your mind. You know that thing that we do where we see a guy and we start talking to him for like the first week, and then after that week, I already have 5 of his children. I'm now cooking in his mom's kitchen in my mind. This man has not yet even told me whether he wants to be in a relationship or not. So we need to stop doing that, because that then makes us sit and wallow in this self-pity when he then does not make those feelings that we thought he had known or express those feelings to us. So sometimes it's good to just take it for what it is. I'm getting to know this person. But if you see your mind starting to want and be like, oh, I wonder if you will look good in a blue suit on a wedding, that's the time that you need to start praying and say, look, please take it away, Lord. Just go back to factory settings. Yeah.
So it's about the mind, like our mindset needs to be at the right place.
Yeah.
I remember watching this, what's it called? Actually, before I even talk about that, there's a comment in the
so funny.
on YouTube. It says no one's got time for friend trees. Family trees are complicated enough. I mean, this friend trees business. I think, yeah, it works for some. It doesn't work for everyone, but I get the principle of, other than just rushing into it, sometimes it's good to get to know the person, the people in different settings. That's when you actually realize, actually, you're fine outside, but probably, yeah, not really in person. Your Instagram pictures are popping, but in person, you're not popping, that kind of thing for me. And that's okay. That's okay. Okay, now with the podcast, I remember it was saying something, I should have written it down, but I just remembered now. But I think I'm not going to say it the proper way to say it. But it was like, women, there's nothing wrong with you putting yourself out there, as in put yourself in the right position. And make sure that your CV looks good. Make sure that what you're advertising is who you really are. It's not like, oh, let me advertise myself. But when people hear the name Cynthia, or when people hear the name Grace, or when people hear the name Amanda, I don't know who Amanda is. Oh, you've got friends. I'm trying to think of names where we don't know anyone. Sharon, something like that. What do they think of? Like, what do they associate you with? Because whatever they associate you with, that's basically your CV. Is it representing who you are as an individual and what you actually bring to the table? Or is it representing something else? If it's representing what you wouldn't like people to think of, then it's time to change your CV. And once you have your CV or whatever, there's nothing wrong with just putting yourself out there, and then just make sure, because the guy will never know that you exist unless you're actually out there, unless you're like in their vicinity. Then they'll know, oh, there's someone called Cynthia. Oh, interesting. And then, but it's up to them to, you can shoot your shot by doing that, making sure that they know who you are. Hey, oh, interesting story, on Instagram. Oh my gosh, that story. And then you leave it there. Like, at least they now know you exist. But then the pursuing, let the guy be the one who's pursuing. There's nothing wrong with the lady initiating or whatever, throwing out their CVs, but let the guy pursue, because when he pursues, like, you, at the end of the day, if they're pursuing you, if later on you don't know what's going on after a few months, you can be like, okay, so why are you talking to me? You can easily ask the question and it won't be really weird. And they can tell you, oh, actually, because I like you, or because of this. And then if they tell you, oh, I'm not talking to you, but they're talking to you, you can be like, but I thought, you can literally make them be like, but A and B is not matching up, the kind of thing. But if you're the one who's pursuing the guy, then it'll be hard to have that conversation of, wagwan, what's going on? But I think you take it or you leave it, the advice. And the other thing was, man, as you're pursuing the girl, just make sure that you're not trying to convince her. There's a difference between pursuing someone and trying to convince someone to see what's on the table. How do I express this? Like, pursuing is like, you're kind of being like, okay, this is what I have to offer. You know who you are as a guy. This is why being single is important, because when you're single, at least you learn who you are, you learn what you actually bring to the table, and you work on whatever needs to be worked on. So now when you're looking for someone, you know what you bring. If they want you, if they want what you're bringing, they'll accept it. If they don't want, you can be like, okay, that's good. You know what? It's not for you, but I know I'm amazing. I will move on. And you can move on knowing that you're still amazing in your whole nature. But if you're trying to convince someone to like you, then sometimes maybe you need to reframe, like, do I actually like myself enough? Why am I really going out of my way to try and convince someone who doesn't like me to like me? I think Rafa has got points. No, we'll try and finish soon because she's about to leave. But yeah, anything to add before I got to the last? Okay, go on.
No, I was just gonna say I agree with Dylan's comment as well.
You can't fish if you don't know where you're there.
What did you say?
You said you can't. The man can't fish if he doesn't know you're there. If he doesn't know you're a fish.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think from your point about pursuing and convincing, I'm always against molding myself to fit into what that person wants, or if there's, and I don't know if that works for men or women, because I people that know me, people that have met me, will tell you the first thing that they'll tell you if you ask them, do you know Ropa? Most of them will tell you, oh my gosh, Ropa is so bubbly and loud. That's the one thing that they'll tell you. So if I met someone, they can never say Ropa is quiet. If you met someone that told you that Ropa is quiet, that person has never met me. They've met a different Ropa, but not me. Because I realized because I did try that, because there was a time where people were like, if you really want to meet a lovely guy, maybe you need to be quieter, and a bit more, what do you call it? Just a bit more soft, not as all of this is too much. And I realized that the more if I did that, I was not living the authentic me. And that meant I would make the person fall in love with someone that I'm not. And then later on, we're in a relationship, and then you see me and I'm like, ha, ha, ha. And then I'm thinking out, and then he's like, well, this is not the person I'm in a relationship with. So sometimes my authenticity helps narrow down the type of men that will approach me, or the type of women that will be exposing themselves to you, because only women that find the true you know, amazing, alluring, worthwhile, would then be in your vicinity. Only men that find my wild nature alluring would then make a pursuit. And that's great, because then I know, you know what you're getting, and I know what I'm getting into. I know that you never, if you then try to change me, I'll be like, well, but you know what you saw me as.
Mm-hmm. Anything before we go to the last question? Else? No. All right. So, how can, before I even got to that question, like I want to just give another quick biblical example of Esther. Is the lady example. I can't think of any male examples when it comes to this whole pursuing thing. Esther, literally, she had to present herself. So another tip for ladies, if you are desiring marriage and you're like thinking, oh, what can I do? What active role can I do? That kind of thing. Make sure that you are, what's it called? Taking care of yourself. Embrace who you are. Embrace your God-given beauty, that kind of thing. If there are certain areas you need to work on, whatever, just do it. But just look at the story of Esther. Esther took, was it a year of preparing herself before she met this, before she met her future husband. She didn't just sit at home and waited for the other girls to do all they could and then just pray like, Lord, help him to choose me, that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm sure she was praying, but she was also taking care of herself. She was also presenting herself. And then when she went there, you saw a lot of beautiful young maidens. But when you saw her, you was like, geez, you know what? Okay, interesting, that kind of thing. But she literally had to present herself. And I think that's something whereby in church, maybe, yeah, sometimes some people advise, okay, you need to present yourself well. But sometimes it's like, no, just focus on prayer. Don't really, outward appearance is amazing, but don't really think about the outward appearance. Mainly think about the inward appearance. And inward appearance is amazing. You can't have outward appearance and rotten inward. You gotta have it both, but take care of yourself. Whether you're a man or you're female, even man, you can take points from this as well. Take points from Esther. If you want to walk to an Esther one day and be like, hey, that kind of thing, then you gotta be taking care of yourself. Be the best version of who God created you to be. Yeah. All right. Last point. How can we break this stigma then of single people who are desiring, but then when they express that they are desiring, I think we talked about it, we touched on it, but it's like a summary thing. Who are desiring and everything like that, and then they're told, nah, just be content, actually don't. Yeah. How can we break the stigma? We touched on this.
We did, because you asked it as a twofold question earlier on.
Oh, okay. All right. I was thinking, we did.
There is a question though in the chat.
Okay, so could you explain what it means to pursue?
Explain what it means to pursue.
Yeah. Wait, before that, what did Dylan say? I agree with Jen. Mold yourself into who God wants you to be, not into the image of another person's desire. If he or she is for you, then the Lord will order your steps. If not, kick rocks. Hey, all right. Anyway, could you explain what it means to pursue?
Dylan. Well, from what I've heard, that I think what people mean by when they say pursue, I think they mean initiating sort of the process of getting to know each other. It might be asking someone for a number, or asking them for, to come to have dinner with them, or asking them if they could be your girlfriend. I don't know, something like that. Like in the case where people maybe have been friends for a while, they've known each other, and they kind of talking or whatever. I think if they mean pursue, like if the guy full up says like, would you want to date me? I think that's what people mean by pursue.
Wait, did you say asking for a number is pursuing?
I think that's what people mean, isn't it? That's why girls don't want to ask guys for their numbers, because then they'll be seen as if they're
No,
pursuing.
we're not saying what do people think. We're saying what is pursuing, not
I'm
what.
I'm telling you what I've heard, because when we got in the other discussion where someone was like, you can't ask a guy for the number because now you're pursuing and you're starting a relationship with you being the one who's pursuing. That's what they said. I disagreed with that, because I don't think asking someone for their number is any kind of indication that you it might just be because I find you interesting, or I actually want to ask you for help in other things. I just like collecting people's numbers. No indication.
So what do you
Yeah.
think? What do you think pursuing is? Not, yeah, because you haven't answered the question.
I think I have given them the answer.
You're saying that's
okay.
What people think. I'm saying, what do you think?
To me, I think if a man is pursuing me, I think if it's when he is intentionally trying to make time to get to know me, with like making efforts to make sure that I see that he's interested in more than just being a surface kind of friend, but he's actually intending to would be in a relationship, or that might lead into courtship. I think it's the intentionality. It's that sort of where the conversation is not just fluffy, but it's actually, I want to actually understand what the essence of who you are.
Mm-hmm. Great.
That's what it means to me.
Great.
I agree. I really can't add anything to that, because that's, I guess, what it felt like for me.
I'll give a practical example. Let's say someone was driving, right? And then they see a car that's coming that wants to kind of follow them, go behind them, or that kind of thing. I would look at it as, by me seeing the car, knowing that it's there, and the car indicates to me that actually I want to go in the way, that kind of thing. I want to follow you, I want to go in front of you. That's like shooting a shot. That's initiating. It's kind of just showed me that, okay. But then if I'm driving and then the car starts coming after me, that kind of thing, and it's following me, of course, I've allowed it. Or let's say we're traveling together with a few friends, and you're like, what, follow after me, that kind of thing, until I get home. Then that's pursuing. It's literally pursuing you to get to the destination of wherever you're going. So just showing interest, like shooting a shot, is not pursuing. It's like, okay, you know what, I'm there, I want to follow you, that kind of thing. Or actually, can I have your number? That's not pursuing. That is fully not pursuing. That's just showing interest, or that's just showing interest, maybe just a friendly interest or a relationship interest or whatever. Pursuing is whereby, like what Roper said, it's not intentional. You actually know, okay, all right, these are my intentions, that kind of thing, and this is where I want to go, and I'm pursuing you with the intentions, so that you know that this is the direction. But it's up to you to accept this this initiation that I've made, or not. That's where the whole pursuing is, whereby Christ is pursuing us every single day. Christ didn't just come and just shoot his shot. He actually pursues us. He shot his shot, but then he was like, nah, actually, there's more to this. There's more to it than just me making you realize that I want you. I'm going to come, die for you, and actually make you realize that I want forever with you. Like, this is deeper than just me telling you, oh, I love you, cool. Or, oh, I want you to love me, cool. But it's deeper than that. I'm actually willing to die for you, and I'm gonna go all the way with you. But you either have to accept me or not. Now, okay, wrapping it all up. Let me see if there's a comment, and then we'll wrap it all up. But in the no comment. All right. So from everything, is there anything that you'd like, from everything we've actually discussed, how would you summarize it? Yeah, as an individual, what would you like the people, or what would you like me or anyone listening to get from all this?
I would say that singleness is a state and is actually is a beautiful thing where you learn a lot about yourself. You get to experience new things that you never got to experience. And there is nothing wrong with experiencing all of those things, building yourself up, making sure you hit your goals and your targets, and just you know, like when you live your life in full color, right? It can be like that. But I think you can then go from that sphere and that whole segment and realize that this is amazing and I want to share this with someone, and then want to share and want to be in a relationship. There's nothing wrong with that, because God has created us to want to be in a position where we have companionship and we're relating to other people. So that's great. If anyone ever makes you feel any type of way about wanting to be in a relationship, you just call me. I promise I will help you. I'll help you figure this out with these people, because I think it's time for us to be more, open and embracive of this. If you're a guy and you're desiring marriage, it's good, it's okay, because you know what you want. There's beauty in being in the right relationship, because you're going to accomplish great things that you would never be able to do on your own. So there's something very beautiful about that. But the desires that you have inside you, God has enough power, enough capability to fulfill them. So never doubt him, but also don't be idle in the same moment.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. When you mentioned the contentment factor, the first verse that kind of came into my mind was Philippians 4:11, where Paul's just talking about how he's learned to be content in whichever situation he's been in. And when I was looking at it, I was just like, he talks about, this is verse 12, I know how to be a basin, how to abound everywhere and in all things. I have learned to be both full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer in need. And I just thought, kind of going back to what I was saying before about how, you might be in one state, but that doesn't mean that you can't appreciate or desire a different one. Paul's saying, yeah, I'm content with being hungry. But if you offer him food, is he going to say no? So I think it's that thing of like still remembering that, yes, I'm single. Yes, I'm happy. Yes, the singleness is great, but I just don't think that we should be there and neglecting the fact that actually somebody might want more, and encouraging them in that, and kind of facilitating that process, and just being active in terms of being that friend that's like, actually I know this guy, not being like, oh no, one day somebody will approach you and somebody will do this, but like just being helpful in that process. So if you are in a relationship, I would want you to help your single friends and to have those conversations with them, and to not be quick to just kind of encourage them with like, oh, God knows your heart, he'll help you, but what can you do as well as somebody that's there in their circle to help them, I think is also really important. And just on the flip side of that, I think sometimes we can the discontentment thing that I was mentioning earlier, we can want to jump into it a bit too soon, and Song of Solomon talks about not awakening love too soon. So waiting until the time is right. And so just making sure that we are genuinely content in singleness, and it's not that we want a relationship for the wrong reasons. But absolutely, you know, be active, you know, do things that will ensure that, yes, God knows your heart and he knows your will, but you know, you can still be part of that process. It's not that, you know, you just have to wait for him to answer your prayer one day, is what I would want people to take away.
Amen. Amen. Ladies, you've been amazing. I forgot the word. English is escaping. But anyway, it's been nice having you with me today. And I've learned a lot, and I'm sure people watching or we're going to watch this later will learn a lot as well from all this. I think, like, to sum it up from my own pen, not to erase what you guys are saying, just to add, is life doesn't begin when you have a partner. Life is happening now, but the question is, are you happening? Are you experiencing life fully? Are you enjoying life? I don't want to say in every season, because are you enjoying life whether you're single or not single, that kind of thing? Because there's no point rushing into a relationship hoping that it will fulfill you, because relationships really don't fulfill you. Like, I'm not gonna lie, maybe I've been in relationships before, and to be honest, I think there was a time whereby I was in one and I was expecting the other person to be it all, and then you just realize, nah, actually I had to be happy on my own, because even if the other person is telling you sweet nothings every single day or sweet somethings every single day and all that, if you're not whole in yourself, the other person will never be enough. You have to be whole within yourself. You have to love yourself enough. You have to love God enough, that kind of thing. Be whole within yourself. And then once you're whole in yourself and you meet up with someone who's whole as well, trust me, that I think that relationship will be amazing, because it's two whole people who know who they are, who love themselves, who love God, and who are just working together to do this amazing thing together. It helps, it reduces a lot of stress. And I think that's literally the conclusion. Like, life is happening, but are you happening? If you're not, then maybe it's time to just sit back and be like, help me to actually be happy in this single stage. But it doesn't mean that your feelings are irrelevant. Your feelings are still relevant. Talk about them, and prayerfully, people who are listening to you or us as we listen to other people talk about their desire will be able to actually listen and not be judgmental, or not be like, actually, you shouldn't be feeling that way, that kind of thing. But let's listen and understand why they are feeling that way. Where are they coming from? Because it's only after we know why and where they're coming from, that's when we'll be able to actually help them, and we'll be able to recommend good people to them. But if we don't open up, if we don't even talk about it, then we'll never know what they're looking for. Maybe our best friend, who might also be looking, might be the best person for them. Maybe they might click. But if we're not asking our best friend what they're looking for, we're not asking the other person what they're looking for, we'll never be able to bring these two people together who could actually start an amazing family, amazing ministry together. So it's good to talk about these things. It's not a taboo. It shouldn't be a taboo. It's no longer a taboo from now on, if you've listened to this. But yeah, I think that's basically it. Thanks, guys, for watching. Until next time,